Egypt's president says he's severing diplomatic relations with Syria in support of the uprising there. Mohamed Morsi has ordered the closure of the embassies in Damascus and Cairo. Also topping our stories, Turkish riot police have cleared Istanbul's Gezi Park of anti-government protesters using tear gas and water cannon. Many have taken refuge in a hotel close to Taksim Square. Some have been injured. Plus, voters are celebrating their next president, Hassan Rouhani. The moderate cleric convincingly beat his hardline rivals in Friday's presidential election. Well, Rouhani has long been a critic of the man he's set to replace, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Emike Omulu looks back at his track record and how his leadership style could differ.
Iran's president-elect Hassan Rouhani. In less than 2 months, he'll succeed Mahmoud Ahmadinejad as the country's 7th president. For the outside world, he may be a new face, but Iranians have known him for years as a key figure in the Islamic Republic. As a young cleric, Rouhani began his political career in the 1960s by speaking out against Iran's monarch. He was forced to flee the country and then joined the late Ayatollah Khomeini in exile in Paris. But he returned home after the Islamic Revolution of 1979. The revolutionary cleric has been a part of the Iranian establishment ever since. Army commander, MP, parliament speaker, and secretary of the Supreme National Security Council for 16 years. Rouhani worked closely with Iran's ruling clerics. Clerics such as the former president Ali Akbar Rafsanjani and Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Internationally, he's best known for heading Iran's nuclear negotiations under the reformist presidency of Mohammad Khatami. During this time, Iran was cooperating with the UN's nuclear agency inspections.
Iran's nuclear activities are peaceful and will remain peaceful. We've never tried to make nuclear weapons, and we will never try to do so.
He came to agreements with the EU to suspend nuclear enrichment. But after the election of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in 2005, he resigned from his post. Since then, he's been an outspoken critic of the outgoing president.
Why do we have political prisoners? We'll try to free them all.
Rouhani ran his campaign on a reformist platform, backed by former presidents Rafsanjani and Khatami.
We will unlock all those locks which they have put on the lives of our people in the last 8 years.
His victory shows he has the support of Iran's moderates and reformists. But now he'll have to prove if he can turn his campaign promises into reality. Emike Omulu, Al Jazeera.
Well, let's take a look at some of the detail of the President-elect Rouhani's policies. In his own words, on a nuclear issue, he said, "We will stand firm to get our nuclear rights recognized and for sanctions to be lifted." On relations with the United States, he said, "We will first convert existing hostile relations to a one-on-one relationship. We will gradually decrease tensions." On financial matters, he said, "I've come forward to save Iran's economy and forge a constructive interaction with the world." And on women, he said discrimination against women will not be tolerated. Well, let's chat now to Reza Marashi, the research director at the National Iranian-American Council and a former US State Department official. So a resounding victory there for Rouhani. The people in Iran clearly wanting change. Are they going to get it?
I think that's precisely what Rouhani's victory represents, is the triumph of hope and change. I don't think it's a question of whether or not changes will come. It's a question of the degree to which changes will come and the speed at which they will come. The conservatives that existed in Iran before this election are still there, many of whom are in unelected positions. And there's going to be some backroom politicking going on now, and sometimes even some out in the open for everybody to see politicking that will be going on in an effort to reshape the political dynamic in Iran. But for right now, this is a day that belongs to Iranians because they went to the polls and they let their preferences be known.
Absolutely. I mean, this talk of freeing political prisoners, of not tolerating any discrimination against women. Do you think he's going to meet a lot of resistance from the ruling clerics on those points?
Well, if past is prologue, he'll certainly meet some. But at the end of the day, he has a mandate. an overwhelming mandate, as we've seen from the videos, the pictures, and the stories that have been coming out of Tehran over the past 12 to 24 hours. So there can be some give and take in the system. How much remains to be seen, but it's going to be very hard to put a lid on what we've been seeing coming out of Iran and the Iranian people being out on the streets and celebrating. So the give and take will be interesting to watch, but it'll certainly be there in a way that it really hasn't been over the past 8 years. I think that's safe to say.
Much cautious congratulations from the US there towards Iranian voters rather than towards Rouhani and the government itself.
Well, I think the United States fully understood that in the run-up to this election, the Iranian government certainly was not treating the Iranian people the way that the Iranian people themselves wanted to be treated. So noting that, and also noting that there is still outstanding concerns that the United States and others have regarding the nuclear program, was bound to come. But they also congratulated the Iranian people for demonstrating their preferences peacefully at the ballot box. And I think they recognize that this presents a new opportunity to reinvigorate the diplomatic process, and I'm hopeful that they'll seize that opportunity, as will the Iranians.
Absolutely. Well, we're seeing Rouhani sort of offering an olive branch, saying he wants to convert the hostile relationship to a one-on-one relationship and decrease tensions. What does the US need to do to match that kind of rhetoric?
Well, I think the United States has off and on matched that rhetoric. At times it has, and at times it hasn't. But in the bigger scheme of things, words matter less than actions, and both sides are going to need to step up to the plate, sit down at the negotiating table, and really get down to business in terms of trading compromises with one another to de-escalate tensions in an effort to find a diplomatic solution to this crisis. Having a more amenable face to the international community in the presidency in Iran makes that easier, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be a quick process. This is going to take some time, and I hope that people around the world, including those inside of Iran, understand that.
Absolutely. Reza Marashi, very good to speak to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
At least 6 soldiers have been killed in fighting with armed protesters in the Libyan city of Benghazi. The government has been trying to rein in the various armed groups that roam the city 2 years after Muammar Gaddafi's downfall. Erica Wood reports.
The fighting broke out here in the early hours of Saturday morning. Armed protesters stormed an army base in Benghazi, forcing troops there to withdraw. Then they moved to their headquarters, where the soldiers fought for hours with the armed men. With both sides heavily armed, the casualty count was high.
This camp is for the Special Forces, who are a legitimate unit of the state, and they are not legitimate. They acted inappropriately when they attacked us with guns to occupy the camp, and as you know, the Special Forces are with the Libyan